Good evening, esteemed colleagues. I welcome you all to today's program. Actually, it is we call it AHA update on health and hospital management 2021 series. And today's program or the lecture we have from Professor Siddharth Satpathy, who is a professor and head Department of Hospital Administration at All Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. Speaking on COVID pandemic, emerging role of hospital managers. As we all know, Academy of Hospital Administration is an autonomous professional body of highly qualified and experienced members who are now more than 2,000 in number, stalwart in their own field. AHA was established in 1987 at AIIMS New Delhi. That is why we call AIIMS as mother institution. Moved to its own campus, AHA House, which is located in Noida. Mission at AHA is developing and training activities in health and hospital administration. Of my after election as AHA president, I have been observing that there is no connect between the members. So we were trying to find out the ways how we get connected to the members. And so this AHA update in health and hospital administration series is one of the initiatives which we are going to continue in the coming days. And every Saturday we'll have such series of lectures and interaction with the faculty and the participants. Another initiative which we are going to start very shortly is the quarterly newsletter, which the AHA members will be getting, and I think that will be also connecting us with each other. The Journal of Hospital Administration, which is also being published regularly, was not indexed. We are trying to get it indexed, and I think within a few months it will be an indexed journal. That is also one of the initiatives, beside many other initiatives which are being taken at the level of the AHA. Like members will be, please participate actively in this Saturday weekly updates from 4 to 5 p.m. and suggest topics of their choice, like one of the participants was suggesting. You can suggest the topics which you want to talk. We'll in touch with stalwarts in the hospital administration, and we request them to be in these lectures. And we will be issuing monthly roster, and we'll notify these topics on the web portal as well as on the WhatsApp group. My request to the members is to please ensure that AHA mails and messages are not blocked. Like I have been informed by the AHA House that many members, maybe the AHA House is at fault because they are sending many mails, they have blocked to the email as well as WhatsApp, and request them that please unblock us, we will not send you unnecessary messages, and we'll ensure that you get only good information which is required by the members. Today is the first lecture in the series, and as per the past practice, we looked forward towards our mother institutions, that is our Institute of Medical Sciences, and that's how Dr. Siddharth Satpathy is here with us, who is leading hospital administration from All India Institute of Medical Sciences. And today's topic is also very relevant, that is COVID pandemic hospital managers. You all as managers must have during the COVID, and Dr. Siddharth Satpathy, being at the premier institution of the country, was the best choice for us to talk on today's subject. Friends, COVID-19 has turned the world upside down, and now that we have lived through the unprecedented global pandemic, and which still continues. Dealing with COVID showed us many ups and downs, and our health system, we learned a lot learning and analyzing the disease. And believe me, we have converted this challenge into an opportunity and built our hospitals. Our hospitals are now very well equipped than what these were earlier. Country has been, applauded by the entire world for the timely actions and the proactive approach. The managers faced many challenges, especially to the rapid spread of the disease, inadequacy in preparedness at state and the central level, quarantine facilities. Actually, we had to initially build up a lot of quarantine facilities when the home isolation was not allowed, were not there. They were limiting testing facilities. Like, the Union Territory like Jammu and Kashmir, we had only one lab for testing, COVID testing initially, but now we have 16. And I will be surprised to note that over 6800 machine for testing of the COVID, which conducts 3,000 tests per day. We have a machine already installed at Skims, Saura, and two more machines are coming. So that means, this during this period of COVID, we could also upgrade ourselves in terms of the capacities. Especially the person like me who was in procurement, there was huge challenges. Demand was increased, and demand was of such items which are actually not manufactured within the state or in the country, or these were very less in production, and there was global shortage. Lockdown was everywhere, so no transport, no air transport, no road transport, no rail transport, and then there was huge price variation. You see, there was huge price variation in the product from state to state, and for procurement agencies like us, it was the biggest challenge because you have to ensure that you procure at the lowest price at all the time and ensure the quality also. So for quality, the quality assurance was not there for such products like PPE. Initially, we didn't have any quality standards. New activities have been started in the AHA. I will keep you apprised through these lectures only. Maybe I get some time in the beginning itself and not take much of time because Dr. Siddharth Satpathy has, and we will be planning the next sessions. We have actually for next Sunday, Saturday, we will be, we already planned a session on hospital planning. So, so I'll request, all of you to actively participate in these sessions and make this program a success. And I hope this will become one of the, to connect with the like members as well as the hospital administrators so they can interact with each other. And this will be going to be a very good forum. I welcome you all once again, and I must personally thank Dr. Siddharth Satpathy, who has spared his valuable time today, and he is amongst us. Many stalwarts are sitting here. I can only say that I am really thankful to all of you for joining us today. Thank you very much. And Dr. Shyama, to please.
Sir, over to you, Dr. Siddharth, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Dr. Yashpal and the new Board of Executive at the Academy of Hospital Administration. The topic that was, given to me are the, it's basically the emerging roles of hospital managers during the COVID pandemic. So what, I'm going to do is share some of the things that we, did at All India Institute of Medical Sciences. It has been in the limelight over the last 1 year or so. We are also, paying the price for it because in the last couple of months, it has been restarted and we have the huge crowds that are, coming to us almost like the pre-COVID, times. So I'll make a quick presentation and then let us have more of interaction. That's what I think would be a better way to go about this lecture discussion. I don't know. Is it visible now? No.
Sir, there's a present now button on the bottom of your screen, right
Actually,
side.
yeah, I know. It shows your entire screen and a window.
Share your entire screen.
Okay, just a minute. Let me open that and I'll do that first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Click on share on entire screen.
Yeah, that's right. Just a minute. Yeah. हाँ नहीं अभी Is it visible now?
Yes, sir, it is appearing.
Is
Yeah,
it
now visible. Yeah, quite visible.
Okay. So, this is how I will, have the presentation. First is, few slides of the status of COVID-19 pandemic in India. We are all aware that in the last, let us say about 3 weeks or so, or maybe 2 weeks or so, it has actually taken an upturn in a large number of states. So we will look at that. The second part will be impact of COVID-19 pandemic at AIIMS. Again, a few slides as to how we grappled with the pandemic in most of 2020, starting from March till let us say about December 2020. Then I will try to explore whether what we did was correct or we could have done something better. In a pandemic situation, it is said that hindsight is always better. So could systems approach be the right way, to handle such a complex thing, a once in a lifetime sort of thing that we will, try to, analyze. Few slides I have made on the emerging roles of hospital managers. This is based again on how our faculty members and the residents, throughout the pandemic, were carrying out the responsibilities that were assigned to them by the, AIIMS leadership. We will look at some domain knowledge related issues, some challenges and innovations that we, did, and then I will open it for open house discussions. Even today morning when the director called a meeting at 8:30, and the last whole year, we have had almost daily meetings for about 6 months, every day morning at 8:30. And we came to know that the National Task Force of COVID, in which Dr. Guleria is a member, that used to meet every day at 8 p.m. So you see, COVID-19 is still an enigma. Although the fear factor has, come down, it can probably be likened to, 7 blind people trying to fathom out, different parts of an elephant. Why I say this is, despite the fact that the fear has come down, we have really been able to, reduce the number of mortalities. The virus sort of refuses to, go away. 150 mutations in India today, presently, which are, there in the country. And of course, a large majority of the cases that we are seeing as the so-called second national, upswing of cases, a majority of them are actually the UK variant. Now, it is a fact that the virus is not going to go away. This is what I have heard from Dr. Guleria, and we expect that in the near future, COVID is going to become endemic, not only in India, but also in the world, right? So, given that, assumption, let us move forward. This is an article which came out in the Times of India a couple of days back. It was written by Sri Arvind Panagarya ji, and I found this, this picture very, very interesting. What it says basically is that on 4 counts, we can say that the facts speak for themselves, and India has done fairly well when it comes to 4 things. Number 1 is very...
Dr. Siddharth, sorry for interrupting.
Yes.
Put it in presentation mode. Your slide is stuck in the first in normal view.
Okay. No, but I can see it moving. I don't know whether... Are you able to see the second slide now?
No, sir.
So then how do I go about? Because I...
Yes,
Then you go on to the presentation mode, sir. Go on to the presentation mode.
Minimize it, that's all.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, now it's visible.
No, but it should be visible in the full screen mode as well. But anyway, it's all right. Probably something to do with the screen sharing and all that. Anyway,
Okay.
just click on the R glass. In the bottom of the screen, left side, it says normal view, just on the left of that.
yeah, there is a slideshow
Yeah.
view as well.
Yeah, just click on that.
Can you see it now? Can you see it now, Shama?
No, sir.
So we
No,
can
so then what I'll do is I'll continue with the presentation view if you are able to see that.
Yeah, that is okay. Let us
That's
continue with this. Yeah.
Okay. So you see what he said basically in this article was that on 4 counts India has done fairly well. The first being that we have very little number of deaths as compared to other countries. Second thing is that although initially the economy really took a downturn, some evidence is now there that green shoots are probably seen, or they are likely to be there in the very near future. The third thing that India did very well was the vaccine strategy that they did. By being able to manufacture vaccines indigenously with the proper amount of tie-ups, we were able to start vaccination fairly quickly, and we are progressing in that direction. Although it's still early days, probably by the latest figure that we have got, somewhere around 4 crore of the population has been vaccinated. But yes, it is expected that things are going to become better as more and more people get vaccinated. So with these 4 good points, there were certain other issues also which now are being told by a lot of people, and a lot of experts also have raised queries about that. I will just try to verbalize few of these queries. One is, did we really act on the basis of science, or there was some other external factors which influenced our decision making? But then yes, in every situation which is as complex as a pandemic like this, there would always be situations where a lot of it would probably be dictated at the top. The second question as managers which we need to question is centralization versus decentralization of decision making. I firmly believe that when you have a very complex problem, if you decide at the lowest level, it is quicker because it is more agile and more nimble footed, and you are able to make course corrections more quickly. But I'll leave it at that because this is not a debate that we should decide about the levels of centralization and decentralization. We will go to the next slide. The next few slides just give us an idea about how the COVID pandemic impacted All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Now, we had 3 places where we tried to take in the COVID patients. The biggest facility was the National Cancer Institute at Jhajjar, and which had about 1500 beds officially. The second facility that we had was the JPNA Trauma Center, which has a 250 bedded facility with full-fledged ICUs and wards. We converted for our own beneficiaries, our own employees, 25 rooms in the new private ward very quickly over 2 weeks. It was converted into a special isolation facility, and I thank our engineering, department and our residents for being there on the spot to see that things happen very quick. The emergency wards at AIIMS were converted into holding wards because with the advent of the lockdown, what happened was transportation got affected. So only those people who were, staying in Delhi and nearby areas could come to All India Institute the emergency. The main OT on the 8th floor got, converted. A part of that was for the suspect, cases. The national contact facility, that means the telemedicine guidelines had been released by the BOG of the Medical Council of India. So a contact facility where healthcare providers could talk to experts at AIIMS about the COVID patients that they were seeing or handling or treating. That two-way communication which was available round the clock, that also got started. The national grand rounds, many of you might have attended. It was actually a good good revision of the clinical services and the clinical sciences for hospital administrators also, the daily meetings that we used to have. Plus we had technical advice, hand holding and auditor facilities as and when requested. Coming to the role of hospital administration per se, because if you are to ask me about the role of healthcare providers in COVID, I would say that it can be divided broadly into two big categories. One is the clinical part and the second is the administrative part. The clinical part is looked after by the doctors of the various clinical departments, the residents, faculty, nurses, paramedical staff. The second big part is the administration part, because administration is what facilitates the provisioning of care to the patient in the hospital. So our department faculty were, chairperson and members of the resource management committee for centralized procurement. I will come to this later on also. Some of the faculty were members of the human resource committee because a redeployment of nurses had to be done, and had to be done very quickly within a period of maybe weeks, that it had to be taken from one area and then another area they were supposed to be posted. Administrative responsibilities of all COVID facilities, time-bound conversion of existing facilities which required exceptional skills of project management, very quick renovations, trying to adjust to the existing infrastructure that you have, converting that into COVID facilities with unidirectional flow of patients, separate donning and doffing areas. We will see those pictures as we move ahead in the presentation. Record keeping and external liaison with authorities on real time. Now, Delhi also has a peculiar challenge. The central government, runs and administers certain hospitals. Delhi government administers certain other hospitals. So, because of the political friction between Delhi as a state and the central government, the different authorities devised their own methods of, submitting the daily census, and the timings were also different. While the ministry wanted at 5 o'clock every day in the evening, the Delhi government wanted early morning at 8 o'clock, but then still our residents and our faculty were up to the mark, and we could, because we started collecting them digitally, we could send in the format that they had asked us for. Maintaining sanitation, housekeeping, security, engineering and coordination was one of the biggest challenges, especially in the first few months when we did not know anything about the disease, and the only pictures that we had seen in the TV was of the PPE clad people in Wuhan. So it was really a tough task to get people inside the COVID facilities, but then with a lot of training and persuasion, our team actually managed to get that done. In addition to all this, we have about 23,000 our own employees, plus it was a decision taken by the director that all the contractual employees also would be considered as our employees if they suffered from COVID, because the fear was so high. So we had somewhere around about 40 to 42 odd thousand people total who at some point in time required testing, some of them required admission, and all that could be managed. This is actually the, a picture of the National Cancer Institute, which took the first patient on 20th of March, and about 2 weeks later, the National Trauma Center, JPNA Trauma Center, was also converted into a COVID, facility. So these pictures just tell you, the picture on the top left is the quarantine center, which is actually a residential area. The two towers, residential towers, were quickly converted into quarantine facilities, and the initial few patients who came there who had very mildly symptomatic or asymptomatic were housed there. You can see the pictures of the wards, ICU, dialysis facility. Not all of this happened overnight, obviously. It happened over a couple of weeks and maybe months. The dialysis facility was added somewhere in the month of, I think, May, 2 months into the pandemic. This is a simplified diagram of a patient flow process, but then it went on like clockwork, and hats off to the team there. And at the peak load, I think we had somewhere around 700 odd patients on certain days out of 1500. The third peak in Delhi was the highest. It was higher than the first and second peaks combined. But we had good SOPs. The process was maintained. Discipline was being maintained. Trainings continued throughout, and we got a lot of good coverage in the media as well. Some of the innovations I'll show towards the later part of the presentation. This is the picture. You see 678 on the 6th of June, and then started declining. And 31st December 2020, the National Cancer Institute reverted back to being a cancer hospital from a COVID hospital. We're keeping our fingers crossed now, as the second surge increases. Then 2 weeks after the trauma center, 2 weeks after the National Cancer Institute, on 3rd of April, we got the first patient coming to the JPNA Trauma Center. And these were the patients who were going from the AIIMS emergency to the trauma center. And most of them were actually patients from other central government and Delhi government hospitals. So you see, this is actually just a schematic diagram. The green parts are accessible to all, and the red parts are those which are exclusively for the COVID. So you see, this is how the whole thing was cordoned off, and a lot of engineering work had to take place, let us say, within about 2 to 3 weeks time, and this was actually completed, and we could start taking patients in the first week of April. These are again pictures of how supervised donning and doffing was done. This was in the early part of April 2020. This has just given you an idea about what we did, because there's no point talking about that now, because the topic is slightly different. Coming to systems approach in healthcare during COVID-19, I think out of the various approaches and theories that we read and we teach students, probably the systems approach theory or the systems approach concept is best suited for a complex pandemic like COVID-19, where we have to keep the patient at the center, and the first circle is the care team. So as a hospital administrator, our focus should be on this care team which is providing care to the patient. While we were looking after the patients, there were some complaints in the initial period of people not going inside because of the fear factor, and trying to take rounds through digital means so that they don't have to go inside. So as a hospital administrator, I feel that it is most important that the care team needs to be taken into confidence so that they are able to deliver inside the COVID wards. The second circle that you see is the organization, that is the institution, whichever institution it is. For me, it is All India Institute of Medical Sciences. For many of you, it could be a small hospital or a small clinic or a small dispensary or even a large tertiary care hospital. So within the organization, it is very, very important to have clearly defined roles and responsibilities. Often that is what sometimes is not done correctly and in a timely manner, as a result of which we face role ambiguity rather than role clarity. So as a hospital administrator, I would expect that role clarity has to be very, very clearly, disseminated in absolutely clear, terms. The last circle, is the environment. And here is where, things can become very difficult. It can become very murky because we faced this challenge in the initial part when we did not have the PPEs and the masks, to be given to patient with a very high fear factor. Because at that point in time, we did not know whether Indians in general had cross immunity to the, SARS-CoV-2. So the environment will always be in a flux. It will be dictated by, ulterior motives, political, some friction or something like that. Sometimes it will be, absolutely unscientific, but then somehow or the other, we have to, go forward within this, scenario. Now here again, this is the American Medical Association's, health systems structure framework, which also keeps the patient, family and the community at the center. But yes, if we compare the travails of COVID in USA vis-a-vis India, they have fared a lot worse than us. So I will not go into the details of this, but you can see here that there is leadership, there is training, there is change, and there is ethics and legal issues. And a lot of things, this blue here, everything depends on the administrators. So a large amount of administrative inputs and oversight would be required for COVID. This book I read a little bit during the pandemic, and the key takeaways by Peter Senge's book, The Fifth Discipline, is that as hospital managers, especially at the top level, it could be the top 2 or 3 levels in the organization, it is very important to see the big picture and recognize that structure generates behavior. The way your organizational structure is made, like what we did at All India Institute is we created different teams which had a reporting relationship to the director. And because the director was taking everyday rounds, it was not only a good revision for us, but many of the problems could be solved on the spot. But yes, some of the more complex problems couldn't be solved there, and it used to take a little more time to try and solve those problems. Change perspectives to improve the understanding. Resist coming to quick conclusions. This is again something which has been fanned by the WhatsApp University. We blindly believe what we get as WhatsApp forwards. So, one has to be a little careful not to take, quick conclusions. We have to make and test assumptions. Ultimately, we are wedded to science, and our bias and our, we should have a predilection more towards science than anything else. So the pandemic provided a bright opportunity for many research projects that were, carried out to make and test assumptions, and some of those have already been published. Check results and change actions if they are needed. So coming to the core of the, presentation, I have just put 5, bullet points under which I will try to just give you some sensitization, and then maybe we will open up for the, open house. First is digital health. Physical health or the physical dispensation of health or medical services to patients was disrupted in a big way because of the lockdown getting extended. And once it was lifted also, it was lifted in bits and pieces. Centralized lockdown, decentralized lifting of lockdown. That is what, we can, sum up for the country. So digital health knowledge and telemedicine guidelines were a boon at that point in time, and with the second wave coming, they are likely to continue at least for the next couple of years. Second important bullet point are the legal issues. In the last couple of years, the Consumer Protection Act has been changed. The Epidemic Diseases Act has been invoked, right? So we will look at that. We will look at procurement and supply chain management issues, which were a big problem in the initial part because we did not have that many PPEs. I remember, one of our faculty members spending almost sleepless nights trying to, find out who are the suppliers who can, provide us in time. Renovations and innovations, both of them went hand in hand during the COVID pandemic. So I believe till the time that it settles down to a low endemic level, this will also continue for the hospital managers. And of course, being a teaching institute, we face challenges in academics and research, exams getting postponed, classes getting converted into online, and all those issues. Coming to the National Digital Health Mission, it is always good that the country is, thinking of, moving into this field. This picture actually tells us that there are two broad areas in the National Digital Health Mission. One are the domain principles, which, have 6, bullet points with them, and the technology principles. Unfortunately, many of the, older healthcare administrators or hospital administrators are not that familiar with the the IT sector or the IT related sector when it comes to health. Yes, we are definitely trying, and we must keep on trying this. But then we also have to look at the fact that although the intention is to improve, the ground realities in many places that I have come to know about is far from optimal. Even at the place like All India Institute of Medical Sciences, many times we have these glitches, and it is not in the pink of health. And that is because the network, which was set up about 15 years back or 10, 12 years back, has become a little older, and more and more nodes have been added. So laying down good hardware, software, and the networks in the organization for the capture of health related data is very, very crucial. It is going to be more crucial as we move ahead from the pandemic. We did last year actually, we had a brainstorming session which was done by our computer facility, in which we had called the clinicians and the hospital administrators. And a 10-12 page note was sent to the Joint Secretary of the MeitY, who had sought comments. But then I don't know what happened to, that is difficult to follow up during the last year. But this is what I have taken from the, from one of the newspaper, reports, that getting the law in place with strong deterrents, ensuring data protection and privacy compliance at costs that do not add to patient burden. This is easier said than done. In United States of America, where most of the digital, architecture is, optimal and robust, every institution spends somewhere around 15 to 20% of its budget on the proper maintenance of such systems. This I am able to tell because of the last visit when I had made to UAB Birmingham. I found that 250, different softwares were being integrated and were being used in the University of Alabama at Birmingham, which is, amongst the top 20 medical colleges in US, but certainly not in the top 10. So here in India, we think that if we spend 4 to 5% of our budgets on IT and we are going to have a robust thing, that is a pipe dream. That will never happen. Secondly, can we use social media and other technology which people are using for other purposes to sway it and use it for health related issues? Now this is an area, virtual green area, which can be tapped, and I will show some of the innovations further down in the presentation, which we did. We used WhatsApp extensively. Within the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, I think there might be about 50 groups at least, maybe more, which are using it for the transmission of information. It could be academic, it could be clinical, whatever the case may be. So these are some of the areas of concern. This we are all aware, it came out on the 20th of March 2020, the telemedicine practice guidelines, then the OPQs were also released thereafter. So I think by and large, things have stabilized with regard to telemedicine guidelines. But after the NMC has come into vogue, I think they have not, extended the duration or the validity of these guidelines. These are some of the essential principles. I will not go because of lack of time. We should have more discussions on this. Coming to the newer legal issues, amendments to the Consumer Protection Act has certain implications for the hospitals. The 2019, amendment, which also includes telemarketing and also the online purchases, right? A lot of pharmaceutical companies have now moved online. They are selling online. The legal ethical framework is blurred, as a result of which Consumer Protection Act can cause a severe dent in many of the hospitals' budgets because of gray areas which can be sort of manipulated by clever lawyers if a lawsuit were to go to the court. Secondly, the provisions of the Epidemic Diseases Act, which were invoked during the pandemic, which are continuously being invoked even today. Third being the Prevention of Violence Against Medicare Persons and Medicare Institutions Act, which is there in certain states. We found that this was a big problem in some parts of the country, in the western part also, Pune and some other places, sometimes in Delhi, even in Calcutta, some of the areas. So this is again something, the biggest point that this has for administrators is how to lodge an institutional FIR. I have gone through the BEAR Act. There have been so many discussions, the RDA and the FORDA, they went to the ministry, but something somewhere is lacking because the people who are facing the violence are not willing to file the FIRs because of the legal system in the country, and the law as it stands today wants them to file the FIR. So this concept of institutional FIR filing came up in one of the discussions with RDA, and there's no legal method to do that. Then we have the National Medical Commission Act, which is going to change the way our exams happen in the medical colleges. So it's likely to change a lot of things as we move ahead. Then there is something called the Digital Information Security in Healthcare Act, the DISHA Act, which also was in the news, and it lays the onus for the safe custody of patient information with the hospital. Now this can become very, very tricky, especially in the era of social media. So one needs to probably go a little more deeper to find out how we can find a better solution for this. And of course, peeping into the future, the proposed labor codes with the 12-hour work days and 4-day work shifts and what have you. I don't know. It's going to be very, very interesting in the future. Now, the next 4 or 5 slides will just tell you how we used at the NCI. We means our residents and the faculty who are looking after the first and second level of administration. But yes, we had presentations and departmental seminar on this in our department also. So I've taken those slides from there. So you see, feedback and suggestions were also taken on WhatsApp. So and through Google Forms, it becomes very easy to collate the data and then at a later date, if required, publish it as well. Now this was the number at NCI Jhajjar for feedback, suggestions, complaint. So there were a tiered mechanism. That means at the lowest level there were smaller groups. Some members of these smaller groups were at the second level, and at the third level we had the faculty group of the NCI, in which I am also a member. So that's how, no calls, only WhatsApp messaging. So people were allowed to send WhatsApp so that it could be quickly taken care of. We faced a big challenge because I must tell you that NCI was originally planned with 710 beds, and we were ready officially with a 1,500 COVID care facility. So we had to use the residential areas also to house the patients who are asymptomatic or having very little symptoms. So transportation of the healthcare providers from the main hospital to NCI, which was about 50 kilometers, used to become a problem, with people telling at the last moment, the numbers increasing at the last moment. So this Google form actually became very, very handy, and we fixed the deadline that by 5 p.m. today you have to tell us if you have to go on the next day. So that made it a little more disciplined, and we could manage the number of vehicles a day prior, which was also easy for the vendor. This is again for the patients. This is basically a form sheet which was used to provide information to the authorities with regard to the admissions and the discharges. So these are some of the innovations that we sort of tried out at the NCI Jhajjar. I think I'm just completing the time. So with this I will end with a small conclusion that one is we have to be very, very versatile, agile and proactive, and use our common sense to solve the problems while standing on our feet as we move ahead in the pandemic. So I think I am done with the presentation. We can open it for more questions now.
Participants, please introduce yourself and ask a question, please.
Yeah, Dr. Siddharth, good evening to you. My name is Dr. Poonam Rajput. An excellent presentation. I compliment you on this. Now, you spoke about agility and organizations being agile. So, somewhere, do you think we are lacking when we face this pandemic? And if so, then what steps have been taken for the future so that we should not land up in the same problems? I mean, are there any changes which we've implemented now?
Ma'am, I cannot tell about other organizations. I can just, answer the question with regard to All India Institute of Medical Sciences.
Yeah.
Now, ma'am, on 20th of March 2020, we got an inkling that a large number of patients are likely to land up at All India Institute of Medical Sciences. So, this was the Marcus group of about 100 plus, patients which came out in the newspapers, and there was a lot of halla as to where the Delhi government is likely to house them. Now, fortunately, right from February onwards, we were having weekly or bi-weekly meetings which were being chaired by the director, because they could sense something cooking, something happening. So we really got something about, say, 3 to 4 weeks time to cater to the rush that came in the last week of March. Now, when I say that the organization must be agile, what I mean to say is that we still work in silos, ma'am. And I'm talking about Delhi again. The Delhi government has its own take on how COVID can be managed better in Delhi. The central government has its own take on how it can be best managed. And both of them many times are not able to see eye to eye. The recent amendment to the GNCTD Act adds more ghee to the fire. But then, within the organization, we have to be nimble-footed. In that sense that, let us look at the strategy in Delhi. Delhi government decided that hospitals will be either COVID or non-COVID. Central government, on the contrary, decided that we will not have full-fledged COVID or non-COVID hospitals. Because the central government hospitals are bigger, they decided that we will have certain portions of the central government hospitals converted as COVID facilities.
Right.
So that we could do relatively quickly. As we face the second wave, we do not know, because right now there is a decision-making vacuum at the top.
Okay.
We are not sure of what the Delhi government is thinking or what it is planning. Whatever we know is from grapevine and our own friend circle that we have. Decisions which are administrative in nature have to be conveyed also in a proper manner. So what I meant by flexibility and agility, I meant at the organizational level. Obviously, at the government level also it is required, but then government is much more mammoth and more complex. So that agility which an organization can have, a smaller organization will be more agile than a larger organization. So that was my point actually. That we have to be ready.
You're feeling that difficulty in taking a decision because of a government organization, is that it? And would you feel that the private organizations would be taking their own decisions and make different...
Madam, please recall the systems theory diagram that I showed. at the last circle, you see the private hospitals also will not be allowed to take a decision completely. You see, even in the private sector, please recall the times when the testing was not allowed for the private labs. So you see, the agility has to be there at the government level also.
Yeah.
But the problem is, how do you, tell them or convey it to them? They have their own ways and means of decision making.
Yeah.
So we really cannot dictate that.
Yeah.
So we have to do the best that we, can under the circumstances.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. Hello.
Hello,
Yes,
good
yes.
evening, sir. So this is Dr. Namrata Makkar.
Yes,
sir,
Namrata.
from Rajiv
Yes,
Gandhi.
yes.
Good
Please
evening,
go
sir.
on. Please go on.
Sir,
I can
would,
recognize you
like-
well.
Sir, thank you, sir. Sir, I would like to ask you that since we are having a third surge of COVID and since 3 months, practically there were nil cases, sir. So whatever system
There were?
in Delhi, sir, in our state, in last 2 to 3 months, sir, we practically had nil cases. So whatever systems we had set for COVID, so
Yes.
they have been practically become redundant in the minds of the staff. So as a manager, how to revive that? It is becoming very difficult now to revive. So what should be our main role? Like how should we go about it? Sir?
We spent 45 minutes today morning at 8:30, chaired by the director, with about 40, heads of the department, chiefs of centers. I was also there. So you see, we kept on deliberating. And, the best way is actually to, I don't know whether you have a system of office memorandum or circulars which were issued in March and April 2020. What we decided was that we will hold on for a few days more, see how the situation is evolving. If required, we will reissue those change dates, right?
I'm Group Captain Dr. Datta.
Yes, sir.
I have a couple of questions. One is, of course, related to the Epidemic Act, but during this pandemic, sir, let us accept that most of the administrative action was taken by the NPMA Act when we declared this pandemic to be a national disaster. But that cannot in the long run have to be the solution for all medical emergencies. So do we need to empower the Epidemic Act? Legislatively, it's an antiquated act and it's not adequately, you can say, toothed. So do we need doing something of the sort, sir? That is one, with your experience in the last pandemic. And the second thing is, of course, from my years with the military medicine background, do we now need to have, sir, AIIMS is very lucky in having such kind of infrastructure where they could take the, you can say, residential areas, take those areas, but do we need to have, as we have in military, the bed expansion plan of expansion of beds within the existing structure and hospital expansion plan with semi-permanent structures? We there used to think only of battle casualty, but now Bhopal was 1 year ago, for a city like Bhopal, it was shaking. Now we are still making hospitals out of that. This was another thing all over the country. But do we need having some kind of a policy of bed expansion within the existing structure and a hospital expansion with semi-permanent structures? Your take on that.
See, I'll just give a few thoughts on this. Again, this peculiar thing that you have, asked is actually, if you ask me as a principle, yes, whenever we are building new hospitals, we must earmark adequate shell space. That means, space which is ready, but which has the flexibility to be used, in any whichever way, depending on an emergency, right? We should have definitely maybe, 10% of the bed complement. That again can vary, depending on the money available, the space available, but certain amount of cell space which can be used, because you see, buildings will also become older. Gone are the days when buildings were supposed to last for 100 years. If we look at the current, circular of 2014 by the government of India, it says that the buildings are supposed to last for 60 years. The earlier circular said that, they should last for 100 years. So even if they last for 60 years, they would require renovations. So first your question, yes, we must have, shelf space which can be used this way or that, depending on, surge capacity of the hospital. The second is with regard to manpower. Now, obviously, you cannot have redundant manpower not doing anything and being paid. So what you have to then at that point in time think is, be a little more, strict with regard to leave, and as the skeletal staff must use these shelf spaces as and when required. But of course, pandemic is again something very different from an epidemic. We have handled dengue epidemics at least in the last 10 years or so, 3 or 4 times. But that need not actually require, extra manpower to be recruited. But yes, I agree that if every hospital needs to earmark some sort of space, because and they also need to think that as this second wave is, rising, they need to take a call as to what they differentiate between COVID and non-COVID, so that, they are able to provide services to both the type of people. Because, if you ask me, amongst the EHS, all patients get admitted in the private wards through me. So the ratio is 9:1. Even today, for non-COVID, 9 patients are coming, whereas 1 is coming for COVID. So you see the vaccination, the seroprevalence surveys, which show that Delhi population 56%, the last sero survey. So you see, it is the remaining portion which is getting affected of the population. But yes, because of the sheer numbers, we may still get swamped.
Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot.
So, thank you very much, Dr. Siddharth. And in fact, I am delighted to table it today that we had more than 101 entries, and we could not allow people in. We actually could not allow people in.
Yes.
We were not envisaging that we will have, of course, we know that your classes or your lectures nobody misses. But even then, we never thought that there will be more than 100
It is
people.
all teamwork. All credit. I have not made any slides. All the slides are from the department seminars and the other things which we have done in the last, let us say, 6-7 months. Because for 4 months, we stopped academics at AIIMS.
Correct. But sir, this is something
But sir,
very
we should
good
come
that
often,
ES
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know that. We
So,
should.
ma'am,
And maybe we can have
you should-
debates on other issues as well. Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Sure,
so
you should
like
come very often,
academy,
sir,
I
on
think,
these type of
yeah, so academy, I think, has done very well to that extent, sir.
Yes.
And I'm really glad to present the vote of thanks today for the session. I think we are seeing a lot of chats. Kindly put your thanks and congratulations on the chat box. We will be sharing this in our portal also. I think Dr. Ashish is also sharing. So I am very glad to see that the first session that we started as an update from Academy has taken off very well. In fact, sir, few points that you have raised out is very pertinent to all of us. One is on the governance and management at the institutional level. Secondly, at the legal ramifications of all these challenges as an institution. Third is the financial aspects and the appetite for doing all these kind of activities, which normally we don't take into cognizance whenever we are talking about this. But one of the issues which is pertinent that I thought would like to share on this table today before we end the session is the Delhi government once had a small little session wherein few people had participated, including me. Therein we talked about one of the critical issues as regards pandemics is concerned. Till now we have talked about disaster management, disaster risk assessment.
Right.
We have not yet ever talked about the medical risk assessments and public health disasters.
Right.
How does an institution handle that kind of a situation? So very interestingly, very small little thing that as a onlooker I was observing in the entire discussions across these sessions, I'm coming out of the organizational realm into a state and a national realm. We had very senior who is who of the country coming and talking. We never had a single hospital administrator. We never had a single critical care specialist. We never had a single public health specialist. We never had an anesthetist or a pharmacologist coming or microbiologist coming and talking, which is all.
So who were these people then? You know, I mean, that
So
way
these-
we are lucky
these
that
were all who is
a
who.
pulmonologist is heading the
These-
All India Institute at this time of pandemic, which affects the lungs primarily. So that's probably,
Yeah, yeah. So-
that's God's, blessing, you can say.
Exactly. So that's only one or two, sir. That was our blessing, as you rightly said, sir. It's only one or two people who were like that. But otherwise, whosoever came onto the table discussing on various issues were hardly aware of what is actually COVID was. I think we as a country with the kind of intellect we could have done much better. But if you were to just see, I gave a very small solution. We were grappling about getting ventilators everywhere, that we make two-way ventilators and two-channel ventilator, low-cost ventilator. Why can't we have it? I said very simple thing. Do you think that any doctor or a surgeon or a pulmonologist will put their patient on the harm's way by not knowing the impact of these low-cost ventilators? No doctor is ever going to do that.
Right.
So what was more important, if health is a state subject, what about every nursing home having one anesthesia machine or one ventilator? We could have just hired
That's right.
for 3-4 months, and it could have been such a huge success. Every
Right.
nursing home, we could have hired them as a state resource center for like the railways did, sir. The entire railway bogies were converted into high dependency units and isolation units.
Right,
The
right,
same
right.
could have
That-
been done within
we
the
had seen. I think somebody from the
Yes.
railways had come one day to the auditorium and he had shown
Yes.
some of the videos.
Correct,
Today
correct. So
only
we
I-
had shared.
Yeah. Today I
Yeah,
came to know
so-
that some RWAs are also, in Delhi, director only told us that some RWAs, they have rented oxygen concentrators and kept them in the, colonies, gym or, things like that. So that, so that the hospitals don't get overcrowded. So something like that.
Absolutely, sir. So that is where, sir, the disaster management today has to take that shape of a health as a state subject. Today, till now, we are still talking about government and public sector and private sector. We no longer can talk about public and private sector, sir. Health has to come into the forefront. It
No,
is a
that's right.
necessity.
We have to join forces. Absolutely. I am in agreement with that.
I think that's where probably, and I think we can play a significant role as administrators from across country. I think that's
Sure.
where we should bandwagon.
Absolutely. I am in agreement. Yeah.
Right. Right, sir?
Okay.
It's,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, the academy team, which
We are
is
bang on time. It was 5 o'clock. Yeah.
yeah. So the academy
Disciplined as
team,
well, yeah.
and thank you to all the participants for coming in with so much enthusiasm. I think Dr. Yashpal, from next time on, we'll have to take a paid channel. There are more than 50 registrations which already came to me. I'm so sorry that we could not accommodate all of them. Thank you very much. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you very much.
so much, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Hemchandra,
I approved to take it on,
Thank you very much for your nice talk.
next meeting.
Are-
And we will continue this type of the activities in future. And I congratulate the President, Yashpal Sharma,
Yeah,
for
absolutely, yeah.
the Shama and the whole team of the academy. And it's a good initiative. And of course, we all are competent to basically throw some light in their respective field, basically. And it's good that I admire and congratulate Secretary to have to become a pioneer for the first time in the academy. You in fact inaugurated this part.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Also,
It's a privilege.
So-
It's my privilege. Yeah.
I extend my salute
So we
to
will
you.
have. So we will
Thank you.
have every week now, every Saturday, 4 to 5, we will have this session, sir.
Okay.
And next time we will be talking about planning and designing, like Dr. Yash said. And we will keep informing all our team members. I think going forward, we'll also have to do registration so that we are upfront prepared that how many registrations are we going
Yes,
to get
yes,
in the
yes.
next session. That
Yeah,
will
because
help us
COVID is not
plan.
going to go there, at least for the next year.
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely, sir.
I think we should increase little bit the total number of that seat to be reserved in this particular program. So I was the first sufferer, otherwise I would have started 15 minutes before I got stuck.
Get out.
So I requested to Dr. Deepak, and he is kind enough to join myself to this group of the audience. And this, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Siddharth Satpathy from the Academic Cell at Academy of Hospital Administration. Thank you, sir, being there. And we assure you that next time when we are logging in, Dr. Sharma, we are going to have some app where we will be able to allow 300 to 400 people to log in. We are
Yes.
trying to working on that, and within a day or so, we are going to work on that. And next time, we will be able to admit everybody who comes there. We are going to handle that. It's the first one, so this was the slightly unplanned one. But from next time onwards, it will allow everybody to come. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Have a good day. Thank you.
Good day. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Siddharth. Once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Bye-bye.